Hello everyone, this is Heather with Stealing Hearts Homestead. If you have not done so already, please do subscribe and like down below. So as you can see behind me, I have a bunch of wood. I went to my local Lowe's today and I picked up a bunch of items that I plan on using for making a rabbit hutch. So that's going to be coming up in another video. Do stay tuned for that. But now we're going to jump into how much it costs to raise pigs. Hello everyone, so let's dive into how much it is going to cost to raise a pig. So there are a few things that really go into the price of raising a pig. One of those things is going to be the breed of pig that you choose. So if you're choosing a smaller size pig that doesn't get up to 250 pounds before you butcher it, you're going to spend less in feed costs than if you were to have like a Yorkshire like I do, which reaches its butcher weight in 4 to 6 months of 250 pounds. So obviously going to take quite a bit more feed for my pig than it would for a smaller hog if you're raising something smaller. One of the other things is going to be whether or not you have access to grazing. I live here in Arizona where I have zero opportunity for grazing. Growing grass is quite a feat here. It takes a lot of water and a lot of time and care. So I don't have access to that. That is something that you might have access to, which will greatly reduce your feed cost if you do. So for the purpose of this video, all we are going to look at is what it is going to cost to raise a pig based off of what you can get from your local feed store. So for me personally, I can get 50-pound bags of feed for about $50 at my local feed store. And then I can also get hay locally for about $10 a bale, or if I go to my local Tractor Supply, I can get it for $20 a bale. So shopping around is also going to make a difference in regards to your feed cost. So for the purpose of the video, like I said, we're just going to assume that you're purchasing everything that you need to feed your animal. And with that in mind, you're looking at about 6 months for an animal to reach butcher weight of 250 pounds. On average, that takes about 700 to 900 pounds of feed. So you're looking at spending around $200 to $250 in just feeding your animal up to an acceptable weight for it to be butchered. So that is obviously a substantial amount of money. And then looking at having the animal butchered by someone other than yourself, there are additional costs that go into that. Locally here, you can find a butcher that will dispatch your animal for about $80, and then they normally charge around $1 a pound if you're requesting nothing fancy. And by nothing fancy, I mean no sausage, no bacon, no vacuum sealing, which you're probably going, what? Those are the things I really want. But those are the things that are really going to add. So I'm trying to give just an idea of what it will cost for the bare minimum. And if you're thinking about adding extras, it can go up substantially more from that. You'll have to look at your pricing at your local butcher to see what exactly they charge for those extra add-ons. So on average, you keep about 72% of an animal when it gets butchered, and that is considered its hanging weight. So on average for a 250-pound pig, you're going to keep about 180 pounds of it. So that's going to be about $180 for just the butcher to go ahead and cut the animal up for you, plus $80 for them to dispatch the animal. So it's about $260 on top of your $200 feed bill. So you're looking at about $460, $500 plus dollars just to go ahead and raise a pig. Now that might be a little confusing to you considering that's about over $2 a pound for meat. And you might be thinking that I can get that a lot cheaper at my local grocery store. And that is probably true. I know here, if there's a sale on pork chops, I can get it as low as 99 cents a pound. Now, so there are definitely ways to go ahead and decrease what you're going to pay. Obviously, the upsides to go ahead and raising your own animals is you know exactly what it was fed. If you're worried about organic, you can raise organic. It's obviously going to cost a lot more in regards to feed, unless you have grazing potential on your property. And then you also know the treatment of the animal, the health of the animal, how it was dispatched, if it was done humanely, if those things are important to you, you know all of that. And then obviously the number one thing is you're becoming more self-sufficient. You're not relying on other people as much, and you're growing your own knowledge as far as taking care of the animal and butchering the animal if that is something that you're looking at doing. So butchering the animal yourself is really going to save you quite a bit of money. So then you're only looking at what it costs to feed the animal. And if you're only looking at what it costs to feed the animal per pound, you're looking at about $1.10 to $1.40 per pound of meat. that you're spending, and that's a lot more reasonable. It's also going to decrease if you're able to supplement with grazing or hay or things like that. Another great way to save money is if you go to your local feed store and you see bags that have holes in them or that are open, you just go ask the manager if they can give you a discount on those bags if you are to purchase them. Here I can get 50% off if there is a hole in a bag of feed, which every penny helps, so that definitely decreases my feed bill as well. And then I do supplement with hay, which I can get, like I said, a bale for $10, so that also helps. So I said in one of my other videos, I personally will never raise or breed rather my own pigs for food. And the reason for that is that it takes about 6 pounds of feed per pig year round. And so that's 12 pounds for a male and a female. And that equates to a lot of feed. So then you're spending thousands of dollars on feed just to support the parents of the animals, not to mention the feed that you're going to have to spend in order to get the animals they produced up to a butcher weight, so that way you could butcher them and have them in your freezer. Now, it might make sense for you to do that if you have family or friends that will go ahead and purchase the babies from you, but you also need to think about what it is going to cost to raise those babies up into a point where you can sell them. So if mom and dad are costing you on average $1,300 worth of feed per year and you're only able to sell their offspring for $100 a piglet, that's really gonna have you in a deficit. And it's really probably not going to be worth it for you to do as well. Now, if you have access to grazing where you're able to greatly reduce their feed costs, then you might come out ahead, where if you have 9 piglets and you're able to sell 8 and keep 1, then you might be ahead. But in my particular circumstances, there is no way that I would ever be ahead by raising my own piglets. Even now, when I look at the price of piglets, Yorkshires, I think I found for $100 a piece. And so there are other breeds that people try to sell for more, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to sell them and make that. So it's something that you're going to want to look into before you take on breeding, and make sure that you have a list of people that are willing to buy from you. Maybe you can even look into raising the pigs up to a butcher weight and have people that will pay so much per pound for the pig, and then they'll send it off to butcher and they'll pay those costs. But you really want to make sure that you have your market or your audience there already lined up, so that way when it comes time, you're not looking for customers and trying to hunt down how you're going to make all this money back. You definitely don't want to get yourself in a hole. So like I said, for me personally, I will never do that. It just does not make economical sense here in Arizona, since I would be strictly relying on feed, paying $1,300 for feed of just 2 animals that are going to do nothing but produce babies, and that I'm going to have to feed afterwards. It's not worth it, because there's really not that much of a market for me to go ahead and sell the babies. At least I personally don't have enough people that I know that would be interested in that. So that kind of wraps up what it is going to cost to raise your own pigs. Like I said, if you have grazing potential, that's going to greatly reduce the amount that you are going to spend on feeding. I personally have my pigs in a pen, and right now they are tilling up the land for me. Once they are raised up and go to freezer camp, I will go ahead and use that area for a garden. So if you're getting pigs and you want to be able to graze them, you can put them in a large area that you plan on using for a garden, and let them do all the hard work for you of clearing that space out, because they will do a fabulous job at that. They will clear up the land, they will till everything, they'll make it a nice muddy mess, and then when it comes time to plant your garden, you don't have hardly any work to do other than planting. And then you can move them to their own area if you want them to have additional grazing, or you can just leave them there until it's time for them to go to the butcher, or time for you to go ahead and butcher them. So there's definitely a lot of upside to raising your own pigs, making them do some hard labor for you. They don't even know that they're doing it, so that really helps. But that wraps up the video. I hope you learned something new in regards to how much it is going to cost to keep pigs. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below, and I'll get to them as soon as possible. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.